Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Thank you for joining us, everyone. And hey, hopefully you're out there, you're doing well. And man, you've had a great week so far, and you are ready for some Computer America. Where, of course, first things first, I hope everyone out there dealing with all this rain has been doing really, really well, because I've been hearing a lot of flooding, as far as the weather goes. This huge rain event that's been sweeping across the country. Everyone out there, hopefully you're doing well. But hey, let's get your mind off that and get your mind onto today's show, where today we have none other than Ralph Bond joins us once again. He is our science and tech trends correspondent, and yeah, we're going to be talking all about the latest developments in technology and some fun discussions to be had. Just looking through the stories there, we're gonna have a lot of fun. So after the program, you can check out the show notes. Unfortunately, they're not going to be available here before we go along, but if you want to follow along, check out the video portion. You can watch the show, you can watch myself, you can watch Ralph, he'll be on screen too. And yeah, you can check out the articles, the videos, everything. Check out the video portion. So with that being said, everyone, why don't we go ahead and just get started? And before we do, computeramerica.com, that's where you'll find everything, including the video portion, including the show notes. And hey, we just have a new review up of a 17-inch faux suede pink tote. And the symbolism of the pink, of course, means that 10% of any purchase goes towards breast cancer research and foundations that do great work. And yeah, we have a recent review up of that bag, so go check out the review by Mobile Edge. It was a lot of fun to review that. And everyone, hey, computeramerica.com. Last time I'll say it. Now, okay, let's go ahead, bring him on. He's waiting oh so patiently in the wings, and don't want to keep him waiting any longer. Everyone, once again, longtime Computer America correspondent, friend of the show, and all-around great guy. Ralph, how you doing? Welcome back on to Computer America.
I'm doing great, and you mentioned the terrible rainstorms and stuff going on in a lot of the country. And if you don't believe in climate change by this point, let me throw another nugget at you right now. It is going to be almost 90 degrees here in the Portland, Oregon area. And look at your calendar. Uncommon. I mean, at this date, it's freaky. This is very alarming. We're already starting to have wildfires this early in the season. So
that's not what you want to hear. And yeah, it's crazy weather going around, but we're happy that you can make it. And yes. No fires. That's the goal.
No fires, except for the fire will feel telling these great stories.
Okay, I'm not going to say that is Ralph's fault, but last time he was on the show after the program, we had a little issue with our website. We fixed it right away, but apologize for any inconvenience there. But Ralph was the one who pointed that out to us. We fixed it just before the show today. Our website was down once again for about 24 hours. If anyone noticed that. That was actually, kind of my fault, because I messed with some settings and, stuff like that. We got it back up and running before the show, so everything's fine now.
Yay.
But we're going to blame Ralph anyways. So
yeah, just blame Ralph. It's like blame Canada.
Right.
Blame Ralph.
Exactly. Just, so stop causing technical issues. But no, you sound good. You look good. We are all set up here. And okay, so let's go ahead and put this up on the screen so everyone will see it in just a moment. And let's see. Let's go ahead and keep that. Let's go ahead and share it with Ralph so you can see what we're talking about. And everyone on the video portion, we're going to be showing the show notes. So Ralph, if you want to explain why the show notes are important.
Right, exactly. Well, first and foremost, the show notes give you kind of a documentation or a reference for all the stories we're going to do today. with links and pictures and all this good stuff. So if you are listening and you're not able to see a screen right now, you can go back and get the show notes later from the website and get all the links. And it's just a lot of fun. And also, sometimes we don't make it through all the stories I pull from the web each show, and it gives you a chance to go and read some of those things we just may not have time to cover today.
Absolutely, absolutely. So with that being said, I think we can just go ahead, jump right into story number one. And yeah, this is an argument, or at least this is a topic that it seems sensational. Like every time I see it brought up, I think, it's very easy to dismiss this as saying you've read too much Isaac Asimov. You read too many books or seen too many movies, too many iRobots. And, it's easy to brush it aside, but it's becoming harder and harder to do that. So, Ralph, please, story number one.
Yeah, this comes from the UK's Daily Mail, story by Annie Palmer. And the headline, this is why I grabbed this story. I thought it was fun. Most people now think artificial intelligence poses a threat to the human race, a study claims. So let's dive into this and learn some of the facts that they discovered. The number of people who fear artificial intelligence is on the rise. A new poll, now this story was posted on the 25th of April, a new poll of 1,004 registered voters in the United States found that 57% of them believe artificial intelligence is a, quote, threat to the human race. The findings demonstrate the increasing skepticism around artificial intelligence, which has made its way into many of the devices we use today, from cars to cell phones. And the survey was conducted from April the 17th through the 18th by political analyst and pollster Scott Rasmussen and market research firm Harris X. In addition to the 57% who believe artificial intelligence is a threat, approximately 43% disagree and believe it's not something to be worried about. I think that's interesting. Of the 57% who consider it a threat, some 16% of them doubled down even further and indicated they believe it's a very serious threat. And Rasmussen noted that the number of respondents who consider artificial intelligence a threat has risen 3 percentage points since November of last year. And here's a quote from Rasmussen. He says, "Younger voters are a bit more concerned about artificial intelligence than voters over 50. I thought that was kind of interesting, Ben, because I almost would have thought it'd be the flip, right? You would think the older folks who may or have a fewer years of technology exposure, the over 50 age group,
right,
than the young kids or younger generations. I don't know of your opinion, but I thought that was a surprise. I would have thought it'd be the flip around.
And this is just spitballing here, but the only thing I can think of is that maybe the over 50 crowd, they still consider computers to be like not that much danger. It's not really a danger. It's a nuisance. It's something that maybe they really don't understand. Whereas the young generation, they are surrounded by technology, and in some cases, I've seen that the younger generation probably thinks too much of technology, but they definitely take it as a really, really big issue. So like maybe older people think, hey, this isn't that big of an issue. It's just technology. And younger people are like, of course it's technology. This is scary. So maybe.
Yeah. And the other thing I could think of, though, to kind of just one last nugget on this,
sure,
is that younger voters might be more concerned about their prospects for job security over the next X number of decades, whereas folks in their 50 years of age or even much older who may be retired now and so forth are less concerned about that. Maybe that's a factor. I don't know. But then it goes on in the article to talk about political things too, not to get political here, but it's just kind of interesting. And it says in the report, it says Republicans are a bit more concerned than Democrats and independent voters. Interesting. The study also showed that voters are unsure about the effects of artificial intelligence on the economy, with 47% of respondents indicating they didn't know if its impact would be good or bad. The results come as Americans remain fearful of what roles artificial intelligence will take on the home and workplace. A 2017 Pew Research study revealed that 70% of Americans are unsure or have concerns about the rise of robots and artificial intelligence. Now, in my age group, and probably you too, it's Skynet, where that made me very afraid. Skynet scared me, and Terminator scared me.
Yeah, it's and we've seen it before where it's kind of a joke because it's movies, it's Hollywood, it's made up, it's someone's art, but at the same time we've seen that technology and I think we talked actually, you and I actually talked about this on the show, where the people who make technology today or do the research and development, they grew up on Star Trek. So when they think about what can technology do, they're going to pull from their childhood, they're going to pull from their experience and say, well, can we make that thing from Star Trek? Can we make teleporters, replicators? Can we make scanners and comm badges and things like that? Like, that's the kind of technology that they're going to aim for, and maybe something Terminator-esque, could be something that could come up. It's true.
Yeah, and I'm not, when I chuckle, I'm not brushing it aside, because who knows where we'll be in 50 years, right? I know where I'll be, probably either in a landfill or,
or in a robot body.
Something.
You'll be in a robot body.
Figure out a way to keep me around. Who knows?
Exactly.
Anyway, going on. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ben.
No. I was going to say, let's go ahead and wrap up this article. It's very. Yeah. I mean, the numbers are very interesting. I found the actual report that they're kind of pulling from as well. It's. Please continue.
Oh, yeah. And for the sake of time, I'll ask people to go back and really read the rest of the article. But in the rest of the article, you're going to find out, and this surprised me. I wasn't aware of Elon Musk's feelings about artificial intelligence. You would just assume that he'd be a big promoter of it, right? But there's some really interesting quotes here from him that show that he's very alarmed by the potential of artificial intelligence. So go to the when you can, get to the show notes, get to the link, go out and read the rest of the story, because it's just terrific. There's much more information. And I also put in a link for our listeners to learn more specifically about Elon Musk and his views on AI. That link is in the show notes as well. So check it out.
Yeah, and I think the reason that he's kind of concerned about that is the point of artificial intelligence and machine learning is that you pull in massive amounts of data and you are able to then look at a situation and interpret it. So, be that cancer research, in identifying glaucoma, be that insurance rates for houses, because that insurance companies are using AI to, spit out how much you need to pay every month. I think he's concerned more to the fact that artificial intelligence currently can do what hasn't been done in the past, which is great for medical research and things like that. But it can go rampant where, it takes out some of the mystery and everything becomes a number, everything becomes an equation, and it's not at the benefit of people who don't own the AI, because the people who own the AIs, hey, they suddenly have all they're playing with a full deck, and everyone else, they're kind of at their mercy. So I kind of get that, but at the same time, you're right. Very interesting article. I could go on about this forever. I will just say personally, I'm not really afraid of AIs yet. I heard a pretty cool report talking about, and Ralph, you may actually have this in your show notes, but in China, Chinese scientists had used CRISPR to genetically modify twin babies. I don't know if you remember that from a couple of months ago. Yeah. Well, I guess ever since that story, we've been having this huge conversation about, should we be altering genes, and is this good? Is this bad? What about super babies? And, what if we want them taller, smarter? Turns out that the science behind it, though, shows that, we're nowhere near capable of changing a baby's height. It's not just one gene, it's 98% of the genes in the human body actually affect height to some degree. So,
interesting.
There's not one switch, there's not little knobs in people, and you can just kind of twist knobs up and down. So it's going to be a problem, like you said, in 50 years, but as of today, we're nowhere near that point. So I'm not worried today. I'm worried for 50 years from now, but all in all, great article. And you're right, there's more to read, so people go check that out.
Yeah, check it out. Great article and fun to explore.
Definitely.
Well, the next story, story 2, I picked it because I just thought it was charming. I mean, and the video that you'll see when you go to the link that I've embedded and click through and you'll see the video. I just thought it was so charming. So the story comes like also another story from the United Kingdom's Daily Mail, story by Harry Howard. And the headline is Boy Becomes World's Youngest Person with a Bionic Arm. And it's just a sweet little story. I'll give you some of the highlights here. An 8-year-old boy is the world's youngest person to be fitted with a bionic hero arm. Now, hero arm, you'll find out, is a brand name for this company that makes these devices. And celebrated by eating his favorite burger with 2 hands for the first time. Freddie Cook from Bracknell, Berkshire, was given his new arm days before his 8th birthday and was thrilled to be able to pick up the burger at his birthday party. The arm is the first medically approved prosthesis, boy, on Friday, that's a challenge for me to say, in Britain. So that's interesting, right? First medically approved prosthesis in Britain, which allows for precise and delicate movements that other prosthetic hands cannot do. That's the key here with this device. The device weighs less than a bag of sugar, which I thought was such a funny thing. In the article, it just says that. And I guess you're just supposed to know what a bag of sugar weighs. Well, I did some Googling on this and found out, approximately about a pound.
Okay.
Right? And has enabled active Freddie, who was born without a right hand, to be able to grip the handlebars of his favorite scooter and climb with his friends. He has even enjoyed playing with a toy with his pet dog, Lacey. Now, last week, and the story was posted 28th of April, he carried both his book and bag and lunchbox out of the school gates, shouting to his mother, Susie Cook, "Look what I can do now, Mum." And Susie, 42, said the device has completely changed her son's life. That's you can just imagine. But I'm going to jump down here a little bit for the sake of time. Freddie has been described as a tech pioneer by Open Bionics. Open Bionics, and I embedded a link here. Very interesting company. The company who created the Hero Arms as the world's youngest user of a multi-grip bionic arm. When Freddie was born, Susie was told by private doctors it would be over 20 years before technology became available which could replicate the movement of fingers. Only 8 years ago, she was told this. However, Freddie's dream was fitted with a bionic limb on March 28, 2 days before his 8th birthday, and so on. And you can go and check out the rest of the article. It's really charming. And but again, I think what I thought was so interesting was the articulation. And you see that in the video, how articulate this prosthetic hand is. And so it's a cool advancement.
Yeah, and really within the article they have the photo of what his hand looked like, because I was wondering, how does it kind of interface and that kind of thing. And while I still don't exactly know, I'm sure that there's some kind of wires that are attached to.
I wonder too. Yeah, they don't explain that. You're right.
I'm betting it kind of grips like around his forearm, and then as he flexes his forearm muscles, it probably works the fingers. So
that would
something
be my
like
guess
that
too.
Because his hand really, kind of terminates with, kind of nothing. So it's not even like a partial. Like this is as full blown, no hand to hand transformation as you could possibly get, and it's really, really cool to see. And by the way, the Hero Arm, kind of company makes sense when you go check out their website, because they have like Frozen theme, Star Wars theme, Iron Man theme, and
gotta love.
And that's the thing I kind of wanted to point out was that. And Ralph, you may know this better than I do, but I've only seen a handful of prosthetic limbs throughout my time growing up in hospitals and things like that. But back in the day, they kind of look like they just kind of ripped them off of training dummies and mannequins and things like that. Like they tried to make them look as human as possible, skin tone and human. Right. Lately, I've been noticing, and especially with the age of 3D printing, they want to make them stand out. They want to make arms look cool. They want to make legs look really, really cool. Like if you're going to have this particular disability, if you're going to have a robotic arm, you're going to want to draw attention to it. And I like that. I honestly do.
I do too. And I'll just add a little bit to what you're saying is we've grown up. Not me as a child, but as an adult, I grew up with Star Wars and then Iron Man movies and all this sort of thing. And so for the young little guys, like the kids shown in the picture you're showing right now, to them, it's cool. to have this kind of mechanical robotic arm. It's probably makes them a star at their school. And so it's a great, great thing that something like this can be done without trying to make it look like a real fleshy human
Right.
hand. Bypass that, and we can have better technology and get right to the real function and purpose without the kid having to feel like I'm a weirdo or something, right?
Yeah, instead of trying to make them blend in, trying to make them stand out, and hey,
Make them stand out, celebrate it. Exactly.
The kid looks ecstatic over his new arm, and yeah, definitely, like you put a note here in the article. Check out the full article there on the website. And hey, we even bookmarked Open Bionics, and we're going to extend an invitation. Hopefully, we'll get them on. And we did that with another company. I want to say their name was like not like Ionic or something like that, but they made 3D printed prosthetics, and that was like 4 or 5 years ago. I'm excited to see where the technology has gone. So perfect.
Yep.
There you go.
Wonderful
There's
story.
that. So plenty of time. Let's go ahead, skip on down to story number 3.
Yes.
Talk about this.
Yeah, this is a good one. From NBC News, story by Tom Metcalf. And the headline is, this is why I love the headline, these squishy robots are designed to survive falls and save lives. Designed to survive falls? Squishy robots? How could I resist, right?
Ladies
and so
and
you
gentlemen,
can see in the
and-
show notes, the picture here gives you a sense of what these things are. And I just thought this was fabulous. Now, there is a video, but it's only a few seconds long. So if
Right.
we fire off the video, it's like 7 seconds, but it shows it being deployed. But let me get on to the story here and set the stage.
Sure.
So it says, from mowing lawns and cleaning windows to lending a hand to astronauts aboard the International Space Station, robots are being designed to do an ever-expanding set of tasks. Now, engineers in California have come up with a lightweight robot designed to be literally dropped into disaster zones. Stop. That's the key thing here. Lightweight robot designed to be literally dropped into disaster zones where it can gather potentially life-saving information about conditions on the ground. The hardy little bot, about 2 feet across, carries video cameras and electronic sensors within a ball-shaped lattice of rods and cables that cushion the sensitive gear from sharp blows, like smacking into the ground after falling from a great height. This is just, as I kept reading this, it just bells were going off in my head. The idea is that the shape-shifting device can be deployed from aircraft flying over areas hit by earthquakes, wildfires, or spills of hazardous chemicals, and then beam the information to first responders so they know exactly what they'll face before they go in. Currently, that sort of information tends to be gathered by first responders themselves. Now, here's a quote from the professor of engineering at University of California, Berkeley. Her name is Alice Agagino. I hope I'm saying that right. She says, we think it can save lives. Yes. And again, driven by Berkeley research here. And she's got a company, I love this, a company called Squishy Robotics, which is a Berkeley-based company she founded in 2017 to commercialize the technology. Now, Agogino said the 2-pound robot had been tested by dropping it from a height of 600 feet, and it survived the fall without sustaining any damage. The device should be able to survive falls from even greater heights, she added. Wow. The company is also developing a mobile version of the squishy robot that can move along the ground propelled by small electric motors that shift the rods and cables to change the bot's center of gravity. Cool. Another quote here. It says, it's not going to be fast, and we are not designed for speed, Agogino said, but the advantage is that it can go over rough terrain. It can shift its shape. Ding, ding, ding. Shift its shape to go between boulders and rocks using what she called punctuated rolling motion. You gotta love this. Agogino said she was inspired to create the squishy robot while working with researchers from NASA's Ames Research Center in Mountain View, California, on a robotic probe to explore Saturn's moon Titan. The researchers were working to build a robot tough enough to be dropped onto Titan's surface from an orbiting spacecraft. Wow. Another quote, I could just see all these applications on planet Earth, Agogino said, adding that the original concept is still being developed for space exploration. And let's see here. I think we still have some time. It says squishy robots are now being field tested by fire departments in Los Angeles and in Texas, according to Egogino, with the first commercial version possibly available by the end of this year. Now, I love this. Here it ends with a quote from a government official, Greg Price, a division director for the Department of Homeland Security in Washington, D.C., expressed enthusiasm for the squishy robot technology, saying it could enhance the situation awareness of first responders headed into disaster zones. And here's a quote from him. He says, situation awareness is paramount. And that said Price, who heads up the department's science and technology program for first responders. Quote, if you have chemical sensors or whatever the sensors are that you are looking for, or a camera for situation awareness, that can save lives. Absolutely. So there was this story fired on so many cylinders for me in the area of robotics. I just loved it. Every time we have a show, there's some new cool development in robotics, but the idea of being able to drop this puppy from a drone or from a plane or from a helicopter into a hazardous situation and have it get early data to help the first responders moving into the area. Wow. I love it.
The and by the way, the YouTube channel where that video came from had a couple more videos that we were showing off.
Good.
So there's a couple minutes of footage there, but I was trying to think what recent kind of thing happened that could that this could be used for, and like what real world applications. And right off the top of my head, like there was a story about a month or two ago, and it comes to mind because they've recently settled with like the entire town where they overpressurized the natural gas lines, and it was causing like the entire city to suffer explosions and things like that. Horrible mess, but before you, like, they essentially had to evacuate the whole city. How do you go in there and check for maybe leaks or if there's any any gas in the area? And I was thinking, you drop a couple dozen of these all over the city at kind of key points, and you can tell where the gas is coming from, where it's going, and like wherever you don't want to send a person, you could put a squishy robot. So. Very cool.
Well, and I think, Ben, too, think of this. What about the combination of large drones carrying these squishy robots? So the combination of what the drone can report aerial from its altitude, because it can get pretty low to the ground depending on the circumstances, and then what the squishy robot can do, and that combination could be incredibly valuable. I mean, when Notre Dame, the cathedral, had its roof burned down last month and so forth. Horrible, terrible tragedy. But what if you could have dropped these things in there so that they could know, oh my God, okay, this is still safe and this is okay. We're going to get in there. And
where to
so
aim
many
the hoses.
possibilities.
Just an eye on the inside to know where to aim the hoses, how to save the structure, more.
Right.
Although we'll say with Notre Dame, they did a great job saving what they could. So.
Oh my gosh, yes. And in fact, just to segue just for a second,
sure.
I've been seeing some really interesting renderings, if you will, of very clever ideas for replacing the roof, not to reproduce as the roof as it was from medieval times, but a new, modern, and even energy generating roof, which could be a violation of the style. But again, I don't know. It's just kind of interesting to think, what could you do with this structure to replace that roof?
And this is and this is totally a segue, so good job. But I will say that when it comes to the roof of Notre Dame, that spire, the iconic roof, that's iconic to us. But if memory serves, they only put that on in like the 18th century.
Right.
It was only like 200 and so odd years ago.
That's right.
I think they had a fire or they were doing some renovations and they added to it.
Right.
Why not take this opportunity and make it your generation's church and not the church of yesterday? So
it's an interesting. I always just, my immediate assumption was, let's make a completely faithful reproduction of what it was when it burned. And when I saw these renderings, I thought, wait a minute, what if? And would it be the, I guess, quote unquote, right thing to do? I don't know. It's a judgment call. I think it would be something that the people of France and interested folks around the world would have to decide what's a good way to go.
I know that we want to preserve culture, but it's like the church has been around for like 800, and I'm talking about that particular church, not the church, organization, but that church has been around for 800 years, and I'm sure they have historians that go, this was the first part of it, this was added in 1400, this was added, it changes all the time, and we shouldn't be afraid to add to it as time goes on. So
it's a fun thing to think about.
And actually, when that happened, like right in the middle of it, we were talking about it after it happened around the dinner table, and actually you were the one who kind of sprang to mind, Ralph. I'm sure that you felt me thinking of you across the country, but you worked with Autodesk for a number of years, obviously.
10.5 years.
Yeah, 10.5 years. And you were working with Autodesk to develop a technology that would take high resolution scans of historical monuments and places and things like that. I'm wondering if Notre Dame had a backup, is what I'm asking.
Well, they had a lot of imagery, not least of which from that, what is that famous game? FIFA, what is it called?
Assassin's Creed.
Say again?
Assassin's Creed.
Thank you. Yes.
Yep.
And they actually had a lot of imagery from that, but this building was also scanned and so forth. And you're right. Point cloud scans can be translated into plans, can be translated into offsite fabrication, and it could be brought in. And we also have the ability to reproduce heavy stone sculptures like gargoyles and all this sort of stuff. Well, we can reproduce them in modern materials that will look just like stone and be exactly the same as the original, but put into place in a much safer, lighter weight, fire resistant, whatever you want to say. So they could make fire resistant replacements for the wooden, what they call the forest of support members in the original roof and so forth. And they could make composite replacements for the lead tiles of the roofing structure. There's so many, you could do this, you could reproduce it, make it look exactly like it used to look, but use modern materials and techniques. Or, as you were pointing out, and these renditions of completely modernized roofings could be another path to follow. It's a door, and the possibilities are wide open. It's going to be really interesting to see what the authorities in France finally wind up doing.
No, you're absolutely right. So we actually had, talked right into the mid-break outro. So we're going to go ahead and play the mid-break outro right now, and we'll be back with more Computer America after about 2 minutes. Everyone, stay tuned. After break, we will continue on story number 4 if you're following along. And everyone, stay tuned. More Computer America right after this.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
800-215-4461. 800-215-4461. 800-215-4461. That's 800-215-4461.
We are all Brother Wolf. 10 years ago, a group of locals banded together to create positive change. We took animals into our homes, held adoption events at local retailers, and talked to the community about our mission to help build a no-kill Asheville. A decade later, we have achieved so many victories for animals in need. There's been so much progress, yet there's still so much to do. As part of our year-long celebration, we encourage you to become a member of our special Compassionate Circle program. With a monthly donation of $10 or more, you will have behind-the-scenes access to the work we are doing at Brother Wolf. Our goal is to reach 1,000 members because we receive no government funding. Working together, we can help build and sustain no-kill communities. Learn more at compassionatecircle.bwar.org. We are a 501c3 tax-deductible organization.
And welcome back to the Computer America Show. It is 32 minutes past the hour as we continue on here. And everyone out there, thank you for continuing on. So obviously, if you missed any part of the show today, check out wherever podcasts are heard, and you can, listen to myself, you can listen to Ralph, and past shows, future shows, wherever podcasts are heard, simply search Computer America, and we should come right up. Now, if you missed any part of today's show, go back and check it out. But it's been a really fun conversation with Ralph, having a lot of fun and making decent time. But undoubtedly, you want to check out the show notes regardless, whether or not we finish. But everyone, we continue on. Ralph, thank you for continuing on with us. And, our conversation just before the break there actually kind of segues pretty nicely into, it appears, stories 4, 5, and 6, because, construction, and you were just talking about the different materials and things like that, that plays a role in your next couple of stories. So let's go ahead and jump right into it.
Yeah, and for the sake of time, to also try to get to the remaining stories in this set, I think I have 11 this time around, I think. But we'll see if we can get there. I might cut this first story 4 a little short here and ask people to go to the article. But as you were pointing out to the audience, I spent the last about 10 and a half years of my active full-time career with Autodesk, the computer-aided design company, maybe best known for AutoCAD, but many other things, not least of which products and services for the architecture, engineering, and construction industry. In fact, in honor of Autodesk, I've got my Autodesk t-shirt on. Pretty cool. And I still have a profound love for technology in construction, which for many people might go, that's oxymoronic. What? Construction is just shovels and pickup trucks and,
hammers and nails, right?
Hammers and nails and concrete and, where is technology in that? Unbelievable what's going on in construction, one of the richest potential fields in industries for technology making a profound impact. So the next several stories are sort of a homage to my past life up until recently with Autodesk and the whole industry at large. So with that said, the story I wanted to share is 7 trends that will shape commercial construction in 2019. Really cool. I'm going to just highlight one trend, because I want to move on and give us more time. It comes from a magazine or an outlet called Construction Dive, all run together as one word, Construction Dive. This is a story by Kim Slowey, who's a wonderful person, by the way, Lori Cowan, Joe Beaton, and Kathleen Brown. I used to work with Kim Slowey on behalf of Autodesk. It's just fun for me to report this. So we'll do one trend, but there's so many in this article. It's great. The one trend that I like, because, I'm a big fan of technology augmenting humans, not replacing. Okay, my soapbox about that. So the first trend they talk about is technology supplementing, not replacing human workers. Rather than fear automation, Autodesk CEO Andrew Anagnos encouraged attendees at the Autodesk University 2017 event to think about where automation can take the industry. This past November, he followed up his keynote address from the year before, noting that automation will give professionals the opportunity to create better and more meaningful work by taking away redundant and repetitive tasks. That's interesting. Automation increases the importance of our expertise and creativity, Anagnos said. But will automation take jobs away from construction workers? Although automation could displace up to 2.7 million construction workers by 2057, so that's a little bit down the road. According to a report from the Midwest Economic Policy Institute, the study's co-authors told Construction Dive that, quote, as long as 100% of the task cannot be automated, there will still be a need for human labor. So they're wrestling with this whole thing about artificial intelligence and computers and technology and AI and on, machine learning impacting the jobs in construction. So they're wrestling with the same issues we talked about at the beginning of the show.
Right.
Goes on to say construction robotics, a semi-automated mason robot, bricklaying, for example, is designed to work alongside a human, as is its material unit lift enhancer. The company always starts by considering where someone is doing redundant work and could benefit from a machine taking the physical strain out of the work or increasing production speed. And these automated bricklaying machines are fascinating. Google that and your mind will just melt. It's so much fun to watch these things work. Of course, I'm a kind of a construction tech geek wonk, but I mean, it is pretty cool. I'll close this part out here because I want to move on. We'll just say Autodesk also shared its predictions about artificial intelligence and machine learning with Construction Dive, indicating that, quote, AI and machine learning will be broadly applied in construction to reduce risk and improve project performance across the project lifecycle. Quote continues, AI will also be applied to identify change, risk, and predict and prevent those changes earlier in a project lifecycle. So in the world of construction, inflow changes, realizing on site, oh no, we got to get a change. It's terrible. So if you can simulate an entire construction process on the computer first and find those clashes and problems on the computer before you get to the job site, that's what this is referring to in part. In the year ahead, we will more regularly see artificial intelligence and machine learning on the job site. And as a result, more firms will realize its benefits to the construction workflow, saving companies time, money, and most importantly, increasing workers' safety. That's actually a real thing. It's something that's very much driving a lot of this. So I'm going to stop here on this one. Ask the listeners to go and check out this article. Look at the other key trends that Kim Slowey and her team point out in Construction Dive, and I think you'll find it interesting if you're interested in technology in the construction field. It's just mind-blowing. Drones, on and on. There's all kinds of great stuff.
Right, yeah, and for everyone watching the video portion, we're kind of watching one of these automated bricklayers, which is pretty cool.
Yes.
Like, obviously, you still need the humans to set up the machine to do its thing, but hey,
and monitor the machine.
Right. Yeah. But the machine's doing most of the work itself, which is great. And although I know that you wanted to, do this for the sake of time, but I'm going to derail that just a little bit.
Okay.
This was a story that actually came out yesterday, and we're going to throw it up on the video portion, and maybe we'll send it to you to throw it in the show notes, maybe. Or no, actually, I'll do it myself. But I will say, this article came out yesterday, and very similar. 3D printed homes for a low-income community will be built this summer, and I'm sure that's exactly thumbs up. I'm sure that you remember when they were talking about 3D printed homes being made within 24 hours. Same technology actually going to be used to make homes for an entire community. And whenever they need a new one, 24 hours later, they're going to have a fully 3D printed home. So very, very cool.
How great this could be for our horrible urban homeless problem that we have right in this country. If we could, print out these, even if they're small, but something to help with that problem. There's so much promise, so much possibility. Our military is looking at this too for creating structures on the fly in combat zones and so forth too. So it's very, very interesting.
Yeah, no, it's and really, just real quick, as the article said, 3D printed homes, 600 to 800 square foot houses, so nothing too luxurious, but at the same time, it's going to be quick, it's going to be affordable, and it's going to be very, very sturdy because it is concrete and not, any kind of wood, thatch, anything like that. So, you're right when you said technology is playing such a vital role in construction because, hey, we're seeing even the stuff that we considered, futuristic, which were 3D printed homes, making it to people, within this year. So this is great to see. So I'm sorry, go ahead. Story number 5.
No, that's great. I love it. Thanks for sharing that. I love that picture. That's really cool. Yeah. The next one is really not an article per se, but a great video. My son-in-law, Brian Busby, and Brian works for Mortensen Construction, a very big construction firm based and started in the United States and so forth. And he works for them in the Portland area. And so Brian works for Mortensen. My daughter, Christina Bond, works for Skanska, the 5th largest construction company in the world. So we've got a lot of construction in my family.
Who knew?
It's wonderful that I worked for Autodesk in the construction side for so many years because we all had something to talk about. But this is a video. There's a link in the show notes, a video produced by Oracle that I think is very instructive. If you want to get a feel for a taste for technology's impact on construction, it's a video called The Work Site of Tomorrow in Construction and Engineering. Check this thing out. Basically, the video is a digital transformation is shaping the work site of tomorrow with Internet of Things, 5G, drones, artificial intelligence, modeling, autonomous vehicles, and whatever comes next enable better and smarter ways of working via the cloud. Explore the work site of tomorrow today. And that's what this video does. I love it, love it, love it, because it really captures in one little video a lot of what Autodesk and all the other companies in the world who are involved with technology and its application to the work site and to construction and to design as well. It's not just construction, it's design, design passing on into construction, and all this technology and data passing on to ownership as well. So check this video out. I think you'll get a big kick out of it. It's very nicely done. It's one of the best kind of generalized, all rolled in one package. And thanks to my son-in-law, Brian, for sharing that with us.
No, for sure. Thank you so much, Brian. And I will say that, it makes sense that Oracle would get into, kind of really demonstrating what it sees as the future, because Oracle would be the one to run the cloud. But you can start to see some of the possibilities and, through this video. So you're right. Good stuff. And we've been showing the video on screen, but you probably want to hear it with sound on your own time. So go check that out.
Good stuff.
Okay. Yep. So story number 5, story number 6.
Yes, story number 6 kind of completes my homage to my past. Well, it's not my past, it's still my life. And that's from Autodesk's, my former company. They have an outlet, an online zine, as it were, called Redshift. And this is a story by Blake Snow on Redshift. Really a great outlet if you're interested in this. And it's not just, Redshift isn't just about construction and architecture and so forth. There's a wide range of things that are of interest to Autodesk and its customers and so forth. But this one is construction giant Skanska. Remember, I mentioned my daughter works for them. Construction giant Skanska, Sweden, has big plans to go completely digital by 2023. Now, if you're familiar with the construction industry, that's profound. To go completely digital. This is a very, very aggressive and big time commitment. So it says Skanska, the world's 5th largest construction firm, is getting future ready by setting ambitious goals to become a more competitive and sustainable organization, using its Skanska Sweden division as a pilot program. The firm is rolling out initiatives to reduce construction costs by 20%. Wow. Cut construction time by 25%, and improve the division's overall health, safety, environmental record, and social responsibility by 2023. By the way, on that social responsibility, in terms of reducing waste, employing some of the modern technologies, there's something called building information modeling, but if it's applied across the board, it has the potential to dramatically reduce waste, avoid over-ordering flooring materials or whatever the case may be, right? What goes on with the article real quick, though, and it plans to get there by implementing the latest and greatest digital technology with the intent to create a domino effect in its divisions around the globe. So Heinrich Lundberg, I hope I'm saying that right, Skanska Sweden's digital innovation manager, says the next 4 years will be a marathon, not a sprint, focused on the digital infrastructure needed for future success. And here's a quote: "It's more about setting up the technical capabilities required to make our fast approaching deadline possible," he says. "We don't have any project delivering on our goals just yet, but we're putting ourselves in the right place to succeed." So I think what I'll do is ask our listeners to go out and look at the show notes, get the link, read that whole article. And if you're interested in Redshift, I highly recommend it, because it's not just about architecture and construction. It covers an incredible range of topics that all my Autodesk colleagues are involved with. So do check that out. But I think I'll move on to the next story when you're ready here to save time.
Sure, no, absolutely. And, we'll go ahead and move on to story number 7 in just a second. But I did want to say that I appreciate what they're doing. And like you said, when you apply, making these changes to, kind of like you said, don't over order or make them more efficient, make sure people can talk to one another. They're very simple things, but when you have to use cell phones and walkie-talkies, and when you have to, send plans via mail or things like that, just the way, I guess, that construction used to happen, and I'm sure you can speak to this way more than I could, the way that it has been happening for the past 100 years, it can get better. It's just a matter of just making the investment, making the transition in systems to a more digital, all-encompassing kind of system. So
yeah. Well, technology coming to the construction, architecture, and ownership of properties. Because, for example, this digital data, as it were, that's embodied in building information modeling, from the design through construction on into ownership. Example: if you have the data in hand for your new, I don't know, your new retail paint store or something.
Right.
When it comes time to redo the lighting or comes time to resurface the floors or something, you can go into the intelligent data that's in the models that are given to you by the firm that made the building for you, and immediately know to the centimeter how much flooring you need. Or you could analyze the building in terms of a 3D model to determine a new way of lighting it that might be less expensive. So we've been seeing the conversion to LED lighting across the globe, right? So I'll stop because I get too excited. It's just so much. It is one of the most sweeping top to bottom transformations in world industry is happening now in the construction field, and it's so interesting. I love it.
Yeah, luckily we only have to find a way to house and maintain, I think we're currently up to 7.6, maybe even 7.7 billion people, so that number should go up to somewhere around 12 billion people. I'm glad that the efficiencies in construction are going to benefit all of those new people. So
we got to do that plus climate change, in my opinion. We've got to deal with these two things.
No. There are multiple problems, but you're absolutely right. But one of our problems is we're probably not going to finish. Story number 7. Let's go ahead and talk about snowfall.
Yes. So that's why I wanted to clip some of the stories so we can move on here. So here's a fun story from Gizmodo. Story by Andrew Lazewski, and their headline is, how could I resist? Researchers invent a way to generate electricity from snowfall. What? Gotta love that. Although it's hard now, close to 90 degrees today in Oregon, to think about snowfall at this point in time. But anyway, so here's the story. It says, the farther you get from the equator, the less effective solar panels become at reliably generating power all year round. And it's not just the shorter spans of sunlight during the winter months that are a problem. Even a light dusting of snow can render solar panels ineffective. As a result of global warming, winters are only going to get more severe. But there's at least one silver lining, as researchers from UCLA, University of California, Los Angeles, have come up with a way to harness electricity from all that snow. It's kind of ironic that it's UCLA doing this, where they almost never in the history of the whole city ever have anything close to a snowflake, but I think that's kind of funny. Going on to say here, the technology they developed is called a snow-based triboelectric nano generator. Say that 5 times real fast. Or SNOW, TENG, of course they have to have an acronym for short, which generates energy from the exchange of electrons. If you've ever received a nasty shock when touching a metal door handle, you've already experienced the science at work here. Now, here's the explanation. As it falls toward Earth, snowflakes are positively charged and ready to give up electrons. Who knew? I didn't know. In a way, it's almost free energy ready for the taking. So after testing countless materials with an opposite charge, the UCLA researchers, working with collaborators from the University of Toronto, McMaster University, and the University of Connecticut, they found that the negative charge of silicone made it most effective for harvesting electrons when it came into contact with snowflakes. Wow. Details about the device they created were shared in a paper published in the Nano Energy Journal. I'm sure that's light reading. But it can be 3D printed on the cheap, given how accessible silicon is. For $5, you can buy a spray can of it at the hardware store as a lubricant. And in addition to silicon, a non-metal electrode is used, which results in the triboelectric generator being flexible, stretchable, and extremely durable. So for the sake of time, I think we could pop on to the next story if you want to go forward from here. But please read this. This is really fun.
Yeah, and just one more point about this, saying that it would be integrated into solar panels and solar panel arrays. So I guess when your solar panel is covered in snow and can't do its thing, hey, at least it's still doing something with all that snow. So there you go.
Yeah.
No,
Pretty cool,
very interesting, and definitely like to hear about that. So you're right. Story number 7, story number 8. The picture says 1,000 words, but we have another 1,000 to say. So Ralph, if you will, story number 8.
Yeah. This was big news in the science world. This is a story from an outlet called Dawn, DAWN.com. First, 3D print of heart with human tissue vessels unveiled. Wow. Okay. I had to read that. And there's a cool picture. Scientists in Israel unveiled a 3D print of a heart with human tissue and vessels on Monday. So the story was posted the 15th of April, calling it a first and a major medical breakthrough that advances possibilities for transplants. Now, while it remains a far way off, scientists hope one day to be able to produce hearts suitable for transplant into humans, as well as patches to regenerate defective hearts. This is very near and dear to my heart, if you know my medical history.
Right.
The heart produced by researchers at Tel Aviv University is about the size of a rabbit's. It marked, quote, the first time anyone anywhere has successfully engineered and printed an entire heart replete with cells, blood vessels, ventricles, and chambers, said Tal Devere, who led the project. Quote, people have managed to 3D print the structure of a heart in the past, but not with cells or with blood vessels, he said. But the scientists said many challenges remain before fully working 3D printed hearts will be available for transplant into patients. Journalists were shown a 3D print of a heart about the size of a cherry at Tel Aviv University on Monday as the researchers announced their findings published in the peer-reviewed Journal of Advanced Science. And researchers must now teach the printed hearts to behave like real ones. The cells are currently able to contract, but do not yet have the ability to pump. So we're not there yet. Then they plan to transplant them into animal models, hopefully in about a year, said Devere. Quote, maybe in 10 years there will be an organ printers in the finest hospitals around the world, and these procedures will be conducted routinely. But he said hospitals would likely start with simpler organs than hearts. So I'll stop here for the sake of time, encourage people to go out and look at this article and learn more and read more. It's a very, very interesting development in this whole area of 3D printing tissue, right? We've been seeing this. It's really coming on like gangbusters. Kind of fun.
And just a couple of days ago, there was another article about a research group that was working on printing essentially like the very complex lattice work of veins, and to get nutrients to whatever organ that you print. And I read later in the article that's something that they're struggling with as well. There's a lot of, just like with AI and, everything that we're talking, gene editing, in 50 years might be commonplace. Today, not quite there, but still very, very promising. So, yeah. And hey, with that being said, if you don't mind, let's go ahead and skip down to story number 10.
Perfect. I was going to suggest that. Yes, because let's end on a kind of comical note.
Exactly. as entertaining as controlling monkey brains is, let's go ahead and do story number 10. So everyone check out story number 9 and 11, but let's wrap up with this one.
Yes, and Gadgets as this outlet, John Fingus, great writer, story, artificial intelligence generates nonstop stream of death metal. Okay, had to see that. I mean, I had to listen to that. You can also check this out. It's this constantly streaming thing. It's fascinating. So it says here real quick, there's a limit to the volume of death metal humans can reproduce. Their fingers and vocal cords can only handle so much. Thanks to technology, however, you'll never have to go short. CJ Carr and Zach Zukowski recently launched a YouTube channel that streams a never-ending barrage of death metal generated by artificial intelligence. Their DataBots project uses a recent neural network to identify patterns in the music, predict the most common elements, and reproduce them. The result isn't entirely natural, if simply because it's not limited by the constraints of the human body. There are no real pauses. However, it certainly sounds the part. You'll find plenty of hyper-fast drums, guitar thrashing, and guttural growling.
Okay, so Ralph, we're gonna try this real quick. So I'm sorry to say this, but just hold it just for a second, and we're gonna try to turn up some levels here and see if this will work. So that is certainly death metal. So I think that's all we're going to be able to play before the video gets muted. But it's certainly death metal, and it has like guttural screaming, and oh my god, that is. It really shows you how, we talk about AI and cancer research and medicine, construction, technology, data, weather, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, hey, we also made one for death metal. So, it's good.
Gotta love it.
I do like that a lot. So and so if you want to go ahead and wrap up with with this particular article, and then I think we'll be done for the day. Unfortunately.
Yeah. So the last story 11,
Sure.
robot paints its own moonscapes in traditional Chinese style. Again, another headline I couldn't resist. It's a Reuters announcement. And check this out. It's a fun story. You can see the video. It shows the AI generated. But what's kind of interesting is that this is a combination of several sources. So a Hong Kong artist has created an artificial intelligence robot which creates its own paintings. Victor Wong took 3 years to build a program called the AI Gemini and teach it artistic techniques. So what it is, his project is called The Far Side of the Moon. The robot's AI was fed NASA 3D images of the moon and imagery taken by China's Chang'e 4 lunar rover. I hope I'm saying that right. It captured images of the dark side of the moon in January, as you know. So it takes about 50 hours to create one of these artworks, and they sell for about $13,000 US. And it's just really, really fun story. So check it out.
Definitely. So Ralph, and I'm sure that I'm a bit, breaking up to you, but that means that the show's about done here. Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. And I want to say big thanks to Ralph and, for, of course, joining us here. Ralph, if people want to find more of you and your writing, where can they go?
It's super easy. Go to the top of the show notes. I got a link to my personal website, or if you're not able to see the screen right now, just Google Ralph Bond and Wix, WIX, and that'll take you right to my page.
Perfect. So everyone will be sure to do that. So Ralph, until next time, thank you so much. Catch you next month. And everyone out there, hopefully you had a great time. Have a great weekend. Do something fun. And catch us back here Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern. Everyone, have a great one. Bye-bye.